session. So let us begin this very amazing work experience session. All the work people who believe that they have not done enough in their work experience start realizing that it's very important. Okay, do not take your work experience lightly because it can be your game changer. Okay, generally people having 2 years or more than 2 years of experience, the most part of your interview is going to revolve around work experience, so that you have to remember. 2 साल से कम वालों के लिए थोड़ा सा एक बैलेंस्ड व्यू रहता है कि ग्रेजुएशन भी रहेगा, वर्क एक्सपीरियंस भी रहेगा, बट जो 2 साल के ऊपर वाले हैं has to be work experience, and the work experience has to be a very very important element. Omkar is with us. Omkar is part of PCP and I am Bangalore. Omkar, in your case you had 4 years of experience pre MBA.
Correct. Yeah.
So, want to understand what were some of the key interview experiences that
Mhm.
you've had in all the key B schools that you attended?
Right. I'll not talk about I am Bangalore in specific, but all the interviews that I attended. So 4 years is a very substantial work experience, and anybody who's having 3 or more years of experience, I believe it becomes a very essential part of their profile. You need to understand the kind of work that you are doing at your organization, and on a larger picture, what the organization is doing. So let's say if somebody is a software engineer, it's not essential for them to portray what they do on a day-to-day basis, let's say coding on some tech stack, but it becomes essential on what you're working and how that is adding value to the organization. Basically, you're bringing out the business perspective of what you are doing. So that becomes essential, and that is where I thought I had an edge because I was already working at the business side of things. I was in marketing. So 4 years with a pharmaceutical company, pharmaceutical marketing is anyway a niche domain. So majority of my interviews were around this. I would say 70% of my discussion was around work experience and kind of situational questions around work experience.
Understood. Let me take in inputs from Varun also. Varun uh, also joins us from PCP and SPJAN. Varun, what was your experience like in terms of all the key B schools that you attended? You also had experience pre MBA. So how do you look at in terms of what should we expect as far as WorkX is concerned?
So first of all, hi sir, good to be back. It's fun to be on the other side of things for a change.
Yes.
Uh, Speaking about work experience, I think the one thing that the panelists are looking for is clarity. You have to be extremely clear about what you did as a role, what impact you added to the organization. If you are in a cost-based role or a profit center role, it has to like add some value to the company. You have to look at the value chain analysis and what value you are adding. So you have to be clear about the roles, what kind of functions did you perform, what kind of responsibilities you took, if you had any instances where you like went out of your way to volunteer. So you have to look out for that and prepare your answers well. Apart from that, if you were in a tech-based role, so you have to also be aware about the kind of softwares or any tools like SAP that you use, and they might also ask you to rate you based on your Excel skills or your MS Office skills. So you have to be a little clear about that.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I think primarily two things, if I draw, from Omkar's and Varun's point, one is experiential part of your experience. That is one important element. And second is impact part of your experience. That's again very, very important. So while I'm trying to talk about my experience, when I'm trying to present it, I'm hoping everybody has already watched the HR Q&A session with Soptic, and therefore you all know that there is a structure in which the work experience is presented. But while we are doing that, the idea is to capture the impact and the experiences. Okay. And to add to that, I would say, if you can make it more engaging and interesting, add challenges. When you add challenges in your role, that effectively makes it more interesting. Think about a movie जिसमें कोई villain ही नहीं है, ठीक है, मजा नहीं आएगा देखने में, करेक्ट? तो मूवी में विलेन होना बहुत जरूरी है, वैसे ही वर्क एक्सपीरियंस के अंदर कुछ चैलेंजेस बताओगे, यू विल रियली गेन दी दी अटेंशन, अचानक से अटेंशन आ जाएगा कि भाई अच्छा ये इस रोल में इस टाइप के चैलेंजेस आते हैं। तो कई बार वो होता है। ठीक है, आई रिमेम्बर वन ऑफ द एक्सपीरियंसेस, आई थिंक इट वाज आइदर एस पी जैन और आई थिंक one of the colleges. So in that I remember, while the interview panel was actually having a conversation on a phone call, okay, the moment I started talking about the challenges in my role, they were suddenly interested कि अच्छा अच्छा challenges बता रहा है। तो that really helps sometimes get the attention of the interviewers. So talking about the challenges, another interesting element, remember whatever you talk about is going to reflect your personality. Okay, so do you talk about learnings or not is again very important. So talk about learnings, that's again something which you should always think of while you are preparing for your work experience. So what have some have been, because people who focus on learnings, no, it really becomes very easy for them to convince the other person that they want to get into a B school and study. So say the B school is primarily an academic institution, right? You have to study and you have to study very hard. So the entire thought process of learning should come through your answers. Okay, MBA क्यों करना चाहते हैं सर? सीखने के लिए। Okay, so that's something which is a very important aspect as well. So I'm hoping that part is clear. Omkar, Varun, would you remember some of the instances, some weird instances, if you have, or anything that really put you in the back seat in any of the interviews, and primarily highlighting the do's and don'ts in case of these interviews?
Uh, so I don't remember any specific instance, but one caution that I was told from my seniors, and something that I would also like to pass on, is no matter what kind of work experience you have, let's say it's a very niche domain that you're working on, don't assume that the interviewer will not know about it. You have to assume beforehand that the person who's sitting in front of you knows inside out about it, because these professors are very well read. So even if you try to beat around the bush or bluff at some point of time, it's very easy for them to catch you, and that puts you off guard. So be thorough with your preparation, know about your industry well, know about your company well. It becomes very essential to know about your company and the competitive landscape as well. Basically, the kind of competitors that your company is competing with, so that you can set a good benchmark of your company and the kind of work that you're doing there. So I mean, it's a very bad idea to assume that the person who's sitting in front of you might not know the nitty-gritties about your work experience. So you can maybe just get your way through. That usually does not happen. If it happens, you might get lucky, but it's just a good idea to not try that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Varun, is there anything that you would remember? I have a couple of
Yeah.
points. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so it did not happen with me, but in my SPGMR interview, since it's a group interview, there were other people interviewing along with me. And this one candidate, she was from the tech background. She worked in AI. And during that time, Sora AI was recently in the news about some of the developments they had made. And the interviewer asked her a question about this. And she was totally unaware about the developments in the field, so which really reflected badly on her part. So I think when you are going for an interview, it is important to know the recent developments in the field that you are working. Along with that, I would say that if you are asked an academic question, it's okay that you don't know all the answers. It's okay to say, okay, I don't know this. But if you are asked something about your job role, then you cannot say I don't know. Because if you have worked in that role for 1, maybe 2 years, it's not okay for you to say कि मुझे नहीं पता. So I think that is something you should focus on.
Yeah, absolutely agree. So again, to summarize the pointers mentioned by Omkar, know your job role, your company well, your industry, and your competition. Okay, so that is again one important element. And beyond that, you should also try to understand if the organization has been in news, or if the industry has been in news, if there is some important news which is going on around regarding your company or your industry. Correct. So that is again going to be very important. Again, जब budget भी आएगा, तो you should have a look at the budget from the perspective of your organization. So how is the budget going to impact your institution? Correct. That is again a very, very important angle to take. So the recent developments, what is happening in that landscape, is also an important requirement that you have. Correct. Beyond that, one more pointer which I would want to add, which I had experienced in one of a couple of my interviews, was some level of financials also. So while I was getting into my B school interview experience, I was thinking कि मैं अपने आंसर्स मार्केटिंग के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से प्रिपेयर कर रहा हूँ, मुझे फिनेंस तो कोई पूछेगा ही नहीं. करेक्ट. बट देवर अ लॉट ऑफ इंटरव्यूज वर आस्किंग मी, एंड प्राइमरली फिनेंस नहीं है, बहुत बेसिक, व्हाट्स द टर्नओवर ऑफ द कंपनी, what's the profit of the company. Correct. What is the operating profit, what is EBITDA. Get into some level of financials also regarding your company. That is something which is also expected. Many a times वो पूछ लेते हैं कि अच्छा मार्केट कैप क्या है, शेयर प्राइस क्या है. करेक्ट, अगर लिस्टेड कंपनी है. सो ट्राई टू गेट दैट एलिमेंट एज वेल. Okay. Now, to move forward in the next half an hour or so, we would pick up two or three people. If you would want to volunteer, please volunteer. But for people who have work experience more than 2 years and have completed their HR reviews. Okay. So we will, just do a small conversation, primarily to understand and make sure that we get to understand how the conversation goes as far as the work experience is concerned. So anybody would want to volunteer for that, we would truly be very, very kind and patient. Okay, so we have Mohit. Okay, Mohit. Who else? Okay, so we have Devrat. We'll take one more. Just one more. Okay. भाई इतना क्यों घबरा रहे हो, चलो रूपल, we have three people, all right. So what we will do, Varun and Omkar, is we will have primarily the experiences around work experience only. So let us start with uh, Mohit, you can unmute yourself. Omkar, Varun, please feel free.
Hi, sir. Good evening, sir.
Hi, good evening, Mohit.
Yes,
So
sir.
Mohit,
So
why
my
don't you start by telling us about your work experience?
yes, sir. So I worked as a front-end web developer for Cognizant for 2 years. I've worked from Gurgaon in Haryana, and during my journey, I started with an internship role in the college in my final year. Then I was upgraded to the full-time role as a program analyst, and then, sir, after 1 year and satisfying my all the KPIs, I was promoted as a program analyst in the same field where I worked for a client known as Arts Capital, insurance-based company from USA. And from there, I worked as a junior software engineer in the front-end background also only. I use tools like React to maintain code and make new components and enhance the existing ones. These are my primary responsibilities. That's also.
Okay. All right. Omkar, Varun, would you have any questions? Also, Mohit, the permanent auto tune that you have, that you installed with Zoom, has it come with Zoom, or is it a paid subscription?
They sir, I not done anything.
है, एक ऑटो ट्यून है तेरा साथ में. Okay.
Nothing, sir.
Okay, no worries. All right. Varun, Omkar, if you have any follow-up questions.
Uh,
Yeah, sir. Yeah, Omkar, go ahead.
yeah, well, no problem.
दोनों लखनऊ से हो क्या? ठीक है.
No, so I would like to begin by asking Mohit. You spoke about how you started off with an internship role. So if we were to compare about your responsibilities as an intern and as a full-time in a full-time role, what what are the differences that you can spot and the additional responsibilities that you took compared to both the roles as an intern and as a full-time employee?
Yes, sir. As for the intern, our main goal was focus on learning, and most of our projects were group projects that we have to submit to our mentors. It doesn't have a real life impact, like if I didn't do it on time or if I made some mistake, they can be corrected easily, no big issues. But as I've worked for the full-time employees, my first thing was communication. I think I learned that very well because I was working with a team that is from different countries also. My project lead was from UK and my team lead was from South Africa. So we have to work together in same different time zones we have to work. And that was the main difference I spotted during my internship and during my full-time role. And secondly, the thing was we have to make major approvals. I was a junior software engineer, so before pushing any code in the production, I have to take many approvals, get it tested by the testing team, and then put it. It was a very, the operations were very streamlined, and we have followed a protocol before doing anything. In intern, you can do your thing, you can install any package. You have to make it work, but for client, you have to make it work from their standards, not yours. That's all. Thanks.
Okay. So Mohit, can you tell me what are the revenue streams of Cognizant? You are with Cognizant, right?
Yes, I was with Cognizant.
Okay. So what are the revenue streams of Cognizant?
Uh, no such idea was not in finance role.
Who is the
But
CEO?
I,
Who is the CEO of Cognizant?
Ravi Kumar sir,
Okay. And what is the turnover?
no idea sir. Sorry.
Okay. So Mohit, if you are the CEO of Cognizant for one day,
Yes, sir.
what changes would you make?
Uh, During Cognizant, working with the Cognizant, I felt there is very little interaction between the HR team and the work, new joinees. For the first 4 5 months, I felt a very little lost in the Cognizant. I couldn't understand the hierarchy or where should I approach with my problems. So if I am CEO one day, I would like to connect the HR team and then hiring team and the new joinees a little well more.
That's it. You will only, connect the HRs with the new joinees. Nothing else would you do. So, Mohit, so is the current CEO not doing it?
Uh, And sir, I have not met any new joiners after me, so I really didn't have the opportunity to ask them the how they are doing things right now.
Okay. Okay. So, Mohit, can you tell me which are the competitions of Cognizant? So, what are the competing brands?
There are many competing ones like in India we can face TCS, Infosys, Wipro. These are one of the major competitors for Cognizant. Especially TCS competes for a lot of projects from Cognizant, and there are always an employees working from here and there.
Okay. So, if I talk about IT solutions, what is the market share of Cognizant?
No idea, sir.
Okay. All right. What are the values of Cognizant?
So values of Cognizant include the integrity, innovation, and engagement. So these are the one I can remember. These are the main focus of the
How
Cognizant.
many values are there?
There were changes in the values from after there were 6 to 7 values.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, Mohit, tell me if so, which one do you believe is a better company, TCS or Cognizant?
And Cognizant, as a former employee of Cognizant, that have given me opportunity on basis of my skill, not my experience. I would say Cognizant, but Again, sir, I think it's a good company because it gives you a fresh perspective for the new joinees to work across pan-India team, and they also give you locations across the India. So I think from my thought of view, joining Cognizant as a first company was a very good decision for me.
But
Joining both Cognizant.
you mentioned that you were lost for the first 6 months. Now you're telling me it's
Yes,
the
yes, sir, I was lost for the 6 months, but it doesn't hamper my growth, and I think you will have to face challenges as you go in industry. Everything will not be handled, so it was just an experience for me to learn and grow.
okay. All right. Okay, Mohit. Omkar, you have any questions?
Uh, so basically, based on the conversation, what I can observe that you seem to have a very solid understanding in the technical domain. You were also promoted. Uh, so why don't you continue in the same field for, let's say, a couple of more years so that you can have a good understanding of the technical foundation that you've built so far? Because right now it feels that you're a little raw, and transitioning into a B school would also require a couple of managerial skills. So if you've picked up any managerial skills based on the work experience that you've had, can you highlight some of those and give us some instances of it from your work?
Yes, Omkar. For managerial skills, I think communication is one of the most important managerial skills that I've picked up during my 2 years working with a team across continents and pan India. I have to work with many seniors from my company. We have to work at odd times. We have to communicate in the morning and the night, and I think that gives me a time management also, a skill required for the post B school requires. And teamwork is another skill I would say I've developed a lot in the past 2 years, working with a lot of people with different background, cultures, and the way of thinking I have developed will help me in these schools as going forward. As a emerging leader, it will be very helpful. And as for my transformation from tech to these a managerial role, it's all my preferences, and I think I will be more suited in that role. And that's why I'm transiting from the IT role to a new role in these schools.
Yeah, basically, what we want to understand is why do you feel that you'd be more suited in a managerial role? Because right now you have all your experiences in the tech domain, and based on your experience, it does not look like you have a good managerial experience. So why do you feel that this transition will help you in your career?
I think it will give me more opportunity to grow as a person, and we all know everyone can learn new skills on YouTube or from reading books and doing other sort of things, but making your character and polishing your skills that B school teaches us the communication, the time management, and the other finance, marketing, operation are key cornerstones to move forward. And that's why I'm transiting from an IT role to an B school.
Mohit, I'm not very convinced with your answers. आप instead of taking the conversation थोड़ा indirectly, you give me three direct reasons, one line statements on why you need to do an MBA. Why don't you want to continue in tech and why you need to do an MBA in three lines. That's it.
Varun, so I wanted to change the coding. This line just doesn't seem like a way forward to me for my entire career, and I wanted to and I was inspired by some of my other colleagues who were the MBA graduates as well to pursue these lines.
Just because आपको career shift करना है does not mean you can do an MBA. I think you should have some more solid reasons prepared with you.
I will come back to you first.
Sudhanshu, I think you're
Sudhanshu.
on mute.
Okay. All right. So, Mohit, we will share, some feedbacks. We'll primarily towards the end, give some general feedbacks. Primarily, we are, not doing PIs. We'll be doing, some sort of grilling inside the PIs as well. But this is primarily more exemplary and illustrative in nature. So, let's move to Devrat. Devrat, why don't you talk a little bit about your work experience? And then we will have a few follow-up questions.
Good evening, sir. So, after my graduation, I completed my graduation in hotel management from IHM Bangalore. And post my graduation, I had joined Marriott International. The first property that I was working was Sheraton Bangalore, where I worked for approximately 9 months. Then I was transferred to Aloft, New Delhi, Aerocity, where I worked for another 3 months. So while I was working at the hotels, there were changes in different restaurants where I was working. However, primarily, this was just after COVID. So there was a fine dine restaurant that was Persian Terrace of Sheraton Bangalore, which was closed at the start of the pandemic. So I had the responsibility along with a team to reopen it and restart its operations. So that was one major thing while I was working in the hotels. After that, I shifted to facility management and joined OCS in February of 2022. And while I was working there, initially I joined as a trainer in soft services for different sites. And while I was also taking care of the training part, I also started engaging myself in the operations because I felt it was more conducive for my nature, and I used to like it. So I started garnering my interest and putting myself in there. Within 5, 6 months, I was given the responsibility of a few sites to manage the operations of that under the guidance of another key account manager. So by somewhere around October, I had shifted entirely into operations and was taking care of 25 sites for their operations, daily operations. And in March, I was given a responsibility of 30 sites. Uh, and the manpower under me was approximately around 400 people working under me. So, which was a huge team. I was managing the daily operations of all these sites.
Okay. So, Devrat, tell us three important or deep, basis your experience, critical issues associated with people management.
So the because my aspect of the job was mostly related with blue collar jobs as well. So the very basic or the most dominant challenge was the attrition of manpower over there. Secondly, while hiring manpower, there was a large gap between the kind of manpower that I had required and what was actually available. So a lot of time went into training them, grooming them before I could hire them and send them at different sites. And thirdly, again, why since they were blue collar jobs, there was a lot of absenteeism, and accordingly managing all manpower at the sites and ensuring all responsibilities are met. That became a major task.
Okay. So, Devrat, you mentioned about Marriott.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me 10 hotel chains operating?
Sir, under Marriott, we have Sheraton, we have Fairfield, we have JW Marriott, we have Aloft Aerocity. Sorry, not Aerocity, but Aloft Hotels. Uh, Further, I'm not able to recollect at the moment.
Okay. And what are the competitors for Marriott?
Sir, within a lot of competitors include Taj, ITC, Oberoi. These are the major competitors. Apart from them, we have Leela also in a lot of places coming up.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, what is the market share of Marriott?
Sir, I'm not aware of the numbers for Marriott.
Okay. How many sites that does Marriott have?
Not sure of the hotel sites as well, sir.
Okay. All right. So, Devrat, you mentioned that you were managing 300, 400 odd people, right?
Yes, sir.
So, what exactly do you mean by managing 300, 400 odd people? What was your requirement with them? What was your expectation setting, and how did you manage them?
So the manpower of 300, nearly 400 people was spread across 30 different sites, and these included people from housekeeping staff, from office boys, and at these levels, to certain sites like Worldmark and Aerocity, where I had almost 120 manpower at just one site, where I had managers, also assistant managers over there. So I was not directly engaged with the 400 manpower, but if anyone left, they're hiring or replacing anyone or managing all the aspects of ensuring that there's 100% manpower at a site on a given day. That was where I was majorly focused and engaged.
Okay. All right. So Devrat, let's say you have two of your reportees, okay, a boy and a girl, and they, let's say, have an affair and they run away, and then their families are blaming you for that. How would you handle a situation like this?
Sir, this is for again the housekeeping level of
Yes,
staff, right?
yes, yes.
Okay,
Okay.
sir, this kind of a situation did come up once while I was working. So the family wasn't directly blaming me, but they were putting the blame on the company. However, it was notified to them that, firstly, they were working at the same site where whatever interaction between them happened was at different times. We could not supervise every interaction between them. And during their this thing, while they were working also, it was clearly mentioned in their letters also that in case there is any relation that is identified between the people, we will be shifting them. So since they did move out of our sites and they absconded from our sites, we could actually take no action, and accordingly we had sent an absconding letter for their at their addresses.
So what's the absconding policy for your organization?
Sir, in our organization, in case a person does not report for 3 consecutive days without information, in that case, the first absconding letter is sent. We wait for a week. Again, a second letter is sent. And again, if there is no response after the second letter also, then the third absconding letter is sent and we terminate the services of the employee.
Okay. All right. Let's say that a very important person has visited one of your sites, okay, and while the housekeeping team is very diligent, one of the housekeeping staff has stolen a very small amount from the wallet of that individual. Okay, if you know and you let him know, obviously, since he's is a top shot, comes out in the open, the person is fired. That person
Okay.
also has some financial crisis, and that is something which he's already informed you and you had ignored when he had informed you in the first place.
Okay.
Okay, you also believe that this person is an important part of your entire housekeeping team and has potential for the future as well. how
Okay.
how do you handle this situation?
So just to clarify, the person who has stolen the money has been identified. And the person from whom the money was stolen, is he aware that who has
No, he's
stolen?
not aware. This person has come to you and he's informed you that I have taken it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you said that in case I inform the person who has whose money was stolen, he would be removed from the site.
So this person obviously will get fired because he's a top shot in a very important site who has visited. If you inform that in our presence and in the the presence of entire facilities, the amount has been stolen from your wallet, obviously that person is going to react very, very badly, right?
Yes, sir.
Which will lead to the loss of opportunity or job for the housekeeping staff. So how would you go about solving it?
So first things, since the money was stolen and the employee did inform me, I would definitely inform the person from whom the money was stolen, that about the entire situation as to the money was stolen by whom, and accordingly we will take actions. So I will also convince the person who from whom the money was stolen that the necessary actions will be taken. As for the employee, we will, because he's an integral part of the team and I know that he's a valuable asset, I would definitely move him out of that site and relocate him to a different site.
No, relocation is not an option. He certainly gets fired. If you inform, he gets fired. Because obviously that person informs social media, comes out in the open, and then obviously there is a pressure on the entire senior management also. There is no way out. You have to fire that person.
Sir, in that case, however, the person would have to be informed that money has been stolen from him. So
It's a very small amount. It's only 10 rupees.
sir, irrespective, it would still have to be informed to him that money had been stolen from him.
Even if this person gets fired.
Yes, sir, they will. I will take care of him in a personal way or in a different
So
way.
how will you take care of him in a personal way? Have you taken care of any housekeeping staff in a personal way?
Sir, in ways beyond the company's jurisdiction, I have helped out employees in various ways.
Okay. But that will not be sustainable, right?
Sir, not necessarily. Like I believe that,
And you know how it works in hospitality. If somebody has been labeled as a thief, they will not get an opportunity elsewhere as well. So
yes, sir.
then you shut the doors on him and for his future, just for the 10 rupees that he had borrowed, and that too he came to you and informed you because he found that you were the right person to you know confront and talk to and basically confide with. So do you think it's something that an empathetic leader will do?
No, sir.
So then why did you do it?
So because I was under the impression that some actions can still be taken for his benefit.
No, but what is in his benefit?
First instance, I thought that I could relocate him, but if that is not an
That is
option,
not
I would
possible.
have.
You went ahead and fired him. Now let's say that this person has now unionized all the housekeeping staff in your organization and they are asking for your resignation. What would you do?
It's a tough situation. I'll have to think about it. I'm not able to come up with an immediate solution at the moment, sir.
Okay. So you think about it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Omkar, Varun, if in case you have any questions.
Just one question I would like to ask. So, Devrat, you mentioned how you have 300, 400 people reporting to you, you are managing them. So, if a situation arises where people are not like they're refusing to work and then they're not very motivated, how would you handle a situation like this?
Sir, first step would be to identify what is the cause for them to not be motivated or not work. So, because until unless I have identified that cause, no further action can be taken, or any action taken on my behalf, or if I take any action, would be incorrect because I'm not aware of the basic reason. Once I've identified the reason, accordingly, necessary steps can be taken. If it is something to do with their salaries, if they're facing some issues with the salary payments or some discrepancy in the salaries, accordingly, necessary measures can be taken and adjusted.
Okay.
Uh, let's take another situation. For example, let's say you're working at a hotel and the hotel has suddenly started seeing decline in sales. You're not able to get enough reservations to keep the business sustained. What would you do in situations like that?
So generally, what happens is there's a predictive trend that is continuously being monitored, and there are times when the reservations in the hotel are low or the occupancy is low. So there are factors like off season or certain things like these. However, if it is in at a particular instance where it is not expected and yet there's a decline in the reservations or the occupancy, accordingly we will take up steps and actions to see as to what is the market, what is happening in the market at the current moment, what is happening in the competitors purview as well, and accordingly if it is the rates that are a challenge or certain such things that are a challenge, we will accordingly make the necessary adjustments to our hotel as well.
Let's take, for example, that your competitors are not seeing this decline, and it's just your hotel who's seeing this decline. Uh, can you think of some promotional measures that you can bring in which will help you attract more guests?
Sir,
What sort of promotions that you can run?
okay. So certain promotions that we can run across is maybe, adding tourism along with the packages to the that whatever they're booking. So whatever is the room booking for based on their duration of stay, accordingly necessary packages can be added on. Or secondly, what can be done is basic amenities and facilities can be added on to their packages. For example, the basic commute to and fro from an airport, which is generally on a chargeable basis, such facilities can be added on. Thirdly, based on if you're booking for this amount of time, say a certain period of time, then you are allowed for upgradation of your rooms, and those kind of promotions can be also done.
But here the challenge is that you're not able to bring in customers, right? None of the measures that you told would help you reach out to more people. How would you reach out to more people?
I am not sure of that answer, sir. Maybe through social media and other campaigns that will be running across.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So but let's move across to Rupal. Hi, Rupal.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, sir. Good evening.
Yeah. So Rupal, very quickly, we will sort of keep it brief since we've already had some level of interaction yesterday. So quickly, if you can tell us the names of the organizations that you work with.
Okay, sir. So I have worked with a total of three firms till date. The first was a consulting firm, Ernst Young. I was based out in Gurgaon. Second firm was a small distribution company, Vinny Enterprises. That is which is a distributor for a US brand 3M. And thirdly, I was associated with ABN Towers and Transmissions, that is located in Kolkata, which is a uh, electrical company that makes substations, grids, as well as works for the Airtel and Jio.
Okay. So
Yes.
why have you worked with three different organizations?
So first, EY was my campus placement, and I was recruited into EY, where I was managing IT SOX audit reports for the biggest client for the firm. Also, after that, I had taken a gap for UPSC preparation and devoted diligently 2 years for that. But I had only reserved 2 years, that I will be going into that direction for 2 years. After that, once I couldn't convert UPSC, after that
So
I was looking for options.
how did you calculate the duration of your UPSC detour of 2 years?
Okay, sir, it's not a detour; it was a planned
No, no, but why 2 years?
idea.
Why not three? Why not one? Why not five?
Because I feel if I am like totally like 100%, 2 years, 365 into two, approximately 730 days are enough of a time
No,
to
no.
prepare for UPSC.
How did you calculate it? Give me the calculation. Don't tell me two is the
Sir,
only.
I had calculated for basically a 10 hours a day study, and approximately I was looking out for 7,000 to 8,000 hours.
How did you come to that number? By how do you know that 7,000 is a good number to take?
Because I mentally had calculated about my daily routine, which I would be I needing, like the I had looked out for the syllabus of the examination. After that, I narrowed down to how much like I need 4 hours of time for current affairs and 4 hours of time for general studies and 2 hours for revision. So that is how I constructed that. I would be needing 10 hours. And if I go beyond 10 hours, then I would not be retaining anything, and that won't do justice to the.
No, no, Rupal, that's not my question. My question is, How did you arrive at 8,000 hours required for UPSC preparation? Simple question. 10 hours into 730 days is 7,300. But I want to understand, why do you believe that 7,300 is a good number of hours?
That is, I talked to my some of my seniors who had prepared for UPSC, and they were telling me about this uh, duration. That they told me about this like the study routine and the hours needed, and through that and my capabilities, the journey I had in my 11th, 12th through JEE preparation as well. My according to my capabilities only, I reached out to a number. It's not like a general number, just because I analyzed my situation.
But there is no analysis only. It's a random number. There is no logic here.
So
What,
it was
what's
more
the
on.
logic? What is the logic? So, it is a better answer would have been to say that 2 is the only even prime number.
Oh, okay. So it's just out of my like believed that it would be enough.
At- you now you're telling me you believe. Sometimes you tell me that I analyzed. Sometimes you tell me that I calculated. So it's either calculated or analyzed or believed. Correct? But I still not okay. I did not get that answer. You diverted into that direction. So let us stick to work experience. Okay. So you then work with Winnie Enterprises, which was into
Yes,
distribution.
yes,
So you were into IT audit, then you worked with into a distribution.
yes, sir. So that was a completely different role.
Okay, but why did you not move back to IT?
So I wanted to look out for different opportunities in different domains and something related to the groundwork that was happening in my area, that is Punjab.
Okay, so you went into distribution with Winnie Enterprises. What kind of distribution is it? FMCG or anything like that?
It's basically they provide distribution of the water purifiers that are being installed in houses as well as some of the MNCs.
So they manufacture or are
No,
they?
no, no. So, like I mentioned, they are the distributors. Like they distribute the product of a US firm that is 3M. So they distribute their product.
Okay, understood. And then you worked with Winnie Enterprises for how many months?
I worked there for 10 months.
10 months. ENY how many months?
10 months.
10 months. So 10 is your cutoff. So as soon as you hit 10 months, you leave a company.
No, sir, I got a better opportunity after Winnie. That is why I switched over.
So you got so you okay. So you were working with the third organization. What was the name?
ABN Towers and Transmissions.
You went into towers and transmissions, again a very unrelated segment. It was into telecom, was working with Airtel and Jio. So you went
Yes.
into okay, so you went into towers, right? And their role was to install substations.
They had to, sir. The company is a pretty 400 crore turnover company, and that the projects that they got were usually of 100 to 150 crore, where they have to survey the land. From land surveying till the completion of the power grid substations completely is under them.
So
So
the size of the project is 150 crores, and
yes, sir.
the turnover is 400 crores. So they get two
So
projects every year.
sir, yes, sir. So like they usually do. It is like the company's bandwidth is not more than doing not more than 4 projects
So
in a year.
okay. So what is the project about? Is it about installation of these stations, base
So,
stations?
sir, if you allow me, like I can elaborate like a whole process
No,
how
do
it
not
begins.
elaborate. Do not elaborate. Give me very specific answers. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So
So
what is it
basically,
that they are doing? Are they installing substations?
sir, they are you like yes, they are installing substations also, but they also create the equipment that is required.
What is the equipment?
So equipments are all the transmission cables, the transformers, the splitters, the voltage thermometers, and the current current resistors surge, as well as the all the aluminum rods, copper, everything. And basically they also have to create a housing space within a substation, because we need a family that lives over there and handles that grid. It's like complete.
Okay, okay. So they install these base stations for the telecom operators, correct?
Also for the state government, like the like we have in Punjab PSPCL, Punjab State Power
Power station,
Corporation.
power station.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
Effectively, the electrical part of the telecom, base stations and the substations in case of power distribution.
Yes.
So, what was your role in it?
So I was hired as a site engineer over there because like basically the first thing what they do is we get a tender. We have to apply for a tender through the government. When we get the tender for the project, the work then starts with the land surveying reports where site engineers like me go and survey the land. We have to stay there for like 6 7 days and look out for the nitty-gritties like is the road like we need a minimum road size of 5.5 meters with if the road is narrower than that then we cannot construct the grid over there, then we don't need a marshy land, then the temperature has to be stable, that is if it rains over there then the lightning shouldn't be a problem because that will increase the cost because we have to provide earthing to the complete periphery of that city. So these things we have to look out for that in the land survey reports. After that, I have to report that back to my team, wherein we, after it is approved, there is a different segment of a designing team that they design the structure according to the area or the like the area usually has to be around 3,000 to 3,500 meters square. So if I survey a land and I find it okay and I report them back and the upper management believes that they can construct the KV substation over 33 kV or 66 kV substations over there, then
Okay.
they will
Oh,
go ahead.
understood. Super. Okay. Uh, so now, so from IT audit to distribution to substations, now MBA.
Yes, sir.
How did you calculate it, or did some seniors tell you that now we had told you 2 years for UPSC? Now the next thing that you should do is go for an MBA. So how did you?
Uh, Right, sir. Sir, I agree that I have did some mistakes in choosing the sectors, but I also believe that I have an experience of working in different domains, and now that I believe it's the right time for me to go for an MBA and like basically in the operations role where I can work from the project initiation till to its management and its over like to have a complete overview of the project. That is why I feel the MBA would be good. And now that I have a fair idea about the different domains, I can surely believe that MBA is the right path for me.
So you have fair idea of different domains. What all domains have you idea of?
So I have ideas about the consulting domain, the distribution, supply chain, and this electrical side.
So you have consulting, then you have distribution
Distribution, supply chain.
and supply chain. Okay. What is the difference between value chain and supply chain?
Uh, Sir, I don't know the definition of these things.
Don't tell me the definition. Help me understand it.
Okay. So value chain would be like if any product is entered into the market, what value it is creating for the customers, and supply chain is the how efficiently we can transfer that product from one place to the other.
So what you are telling me is the definition, or how do you get this idea? Or did some senior tell you that also?
No, sir, that is something that I feel that this is might be right.
You are a feeler, Rupal. Do you think you are a feeler or a thinker? Where do you see yourself between the two? Between feeler and thinker? Because everything you feel, you believe that 2 years. Now you believe that MBA is good. You feel you're getting a feeling that MBA is the right thing. But I'm not able to find logic in the answer now. So Rupal, while you think about it, I would request Omkar or Varun if you have any questions.
So one thing that I can see is that whenever you get the next best opportunity, you make a move. So let's take for example that you've completed your MBA and you're working on a very crucial project. and that is when some competitor of yours approaches you and gives you, let's say, a 50% hike. So that's a good opportunity, and uh, you're already working on a very crucial project. So would you be willing to make the switch? And what would your rationale be?
No, sir, I won't be making a switch at that stage of like if I'm in the middle of a project, because this is something that has happened with me with my during my working days with Vinny Enterprises. When I was working like into the fifth month, we were in the middle of a project, and that is when I got an offer from ABN that please current join us as soon as possible. I had replied back to them that I am happy to have the offer, but I'm in the middle of a project, and after that I would be thinking about it. And once my project with Vinny was completed, only then I switched over. So it's not that I will
But
be
it,
leaving the middle.
yeah, but it's a 50% hike, and let's say if you go into any
No,
prettier
sir.
B school, you would already be having a hefty loan on your head. So would a salary hike not help you in that case?
No, sir. So I feel the project was more important. If it is a very important project, and I feel they like because I'm relating it to my situation that I was having, that the team was small, and if I had left, then a lot depended upon me. Hence, at that time, I didn't switch. But if in future, if there's a case that even if I leave, then the project would be running very smoothly, then I might think about it. Like if it's a 50% hike, then I might.
So Rupal,
No, but it's
so yeah, Omkar, go ahead.
no, no.
Yeah. So Rupal, what you are saying is reliability is more important than money,
Yes, sir.
correct? I'm sure you would not change that stance after my next statement.
Yes.
So let's say that the existing organization that Omkar was mentioning about is now saying that I'm only going to offer you a 50% while 50% of your salary while this project is going on because we are going through some financial crunch.
Okay. I would, sir, basically ask for more details as to how long this financial crunch would be, and
Financial
uh,
crunch would be, let's say, is not known for at this point in time. But what they have, told you is that they believe that it might get over as soon as the project is done. The project has another lead time of approximately 6 to 9 months, or approximately maybe a year also. So, but you are not sure about it,
okay,
and you have an offer from the competition to move at a 50% hike. What do you do?
okay, and I am in the middle of a project.
Yes, it's a very
Okay,
critical project, as Omkar
okay,
also.
sir, I won't leave at that right straight away when they say that there is a 50% decrease in the salary because of financial crunch. But surely I will still be working over there. But I would first like to streamline the process that the project we are in. If I'm in a condition or I manage a situation where even without me the project can go on, then after that I will think about switching. But before that, no, I won't.
So you will work at 50%.
Yes,
Okay. So let's say you had started at 25 lakhs and now you're working at 12.5.
yes.
How will you manage? You have an education loan also.
So I believe the trust that the organization had shown in me at the time when I was coming after a 2 years of gap, and they didn't ask me about my capabilities or they didn't interview, and they just hired me for who I am or what my I can offer to them. I guess it's a payback time, and I should like reciprocating that thing.
Okay.
I agree that there are financial issues or crunches in every situation, and we as an employee should trust the organization at that stage.
Understood. Yeah. Omkar, please continue, or Varun, if you have it.
Just one question. Rupal, you mentioned you left EY and then Winnie of Enterprises after 10 months each. So, was money the only objective for switching organizations, or
No,
did you have
no.
any? Because 10, to me, 10 months seems like a very small amount of time to assess a role and an organization. Because if an organization is putting trust in you and hiring you, it does not seem fair that you are just leaving after 10 months. So in the grand scheme of things, 10 months seems like a very less time. So what was your rationale behind that?
Money was never an issue. Even if you ask my CTC, it's not a very like 2x, 3x jump. It is nothing, not even like, money is never an issue. My first switch was like I left EY for my passion, that was UPSC. After that, I had to like when I decided that I have to give 2 years, and after 2 years, I had to join a firm. But and that is how I landed up to Vinny, that they offered me a role. I was suitable, like I was comfortable with the role that I was hired, and I thought I could add value to that organization more because of the networking skills I had developed during my undergraduation. That is why I joined the firm. Also, again switched again to ABN because the work I had to do at ABN is something which I had done during my undergraduation. So it was basically not in a like it is not like out of the box that I went into there. There is some sort of a background connected with that, how I landed up to that organization. So it money is never an issue. It was the job role and the opportunities that I was looking forward at that stage of time.
Okay. Yeah. So now to quickly summarize, I think we have, I'm sure you all have, taken a note of, the conversations that we had with Mohit, Devrat, and Rupal. Thank you, Mohit, Devrat, and Rupal, for, confidence, for the participation and volunteering. You've all been a great sport. Thank you for participating, because through you we could give a lot of inputs for others also. Correct. So really, thanks for that. Let me quickly. I'm sure there are a lot of things that you have observed without us talking about it. Correct. And some of these elements would be a to obviously understand about your organization thoroughly, about your job role thoroughly. So you will have questions which are HR oriented, which are softer skills, which are towards the ethical dilemma, which are situational in nature. Right? Tell us an instance you have done that. Tell us an instance where you have done something like this or something like that. So that is also something that you should be looking forward to. And beyond that, obviously your work you should know in and out. Okay, when you're saying something, some work experience you're mentioning, be very very sure of the numbers. We are putting some numbers across. Correct. For example, let's say Rupal talked about 2 years for UPSC preparation. Why 2 years? Why not 2.5? Why not 3? Why not 1.5? So I think about these elements. If you are going to talk about it, it's going to get pointed out. If you have worked in an organization, or you have, let's say, made a lot of switch, find out as to why have you done that, because that effectively goes on to reflect a little badly on your part, as to making a lot of switches in a small interval of time is really not recommended. I think that is something which I believe is there. Again, people who are in the people oriented roles, they will get more people oriented questions. People who are in the IT oriented roles will get more IT oriented questions. Correct. So that is how we have to look at it, and let's prepare well. Omkar, Varun, if in case you have any inputs.
I just had three observations which I'd probably want to convey. The first thing, whenever you are introducing your work experience or you're talking about your work experience, if you have any highlights or any achievements from your work experience, it is a very good idea to portray that, because you would be knowing about your achievements, your highlights inside out, and that could be a good starting point of the interview. In that way, you'd also be able to channel your interview in the direction that you want. So that is one. Second is you should be very clear, if you're having a work experience, why at this point of time it is the right move to switch and do an MBA, and why not progress further in the same domain. And thirdly, whenever you're thrown a situational question, it is perfectly fine to take, let's say, 30 seconds to understand the situation better, jot down points in your head, and then frame it in a way that it is actually helping the interviewer understand what you would do in the situation. Because whenever we were in situations that we saw here, you were just seeing the situation on face value and you're trying to justify what would you do in a situation like that. But it is completely fine to take some time and gather your thoughts to actually understand what is the right thing for you to do in this situation. Varun,
Uh,
if you have
to
any points.
Yeah, to add to Omkar's point, I completely agree with those. And I would also say a little conviction in your answers, because a lot of time I noticed that even though your answers were good, they were refined, but they lacked a sense of conviction. So you have to believe in yourself first to make the interviewer believe in your answers. So that has to be there. Apart from that, like Omkar mentioned, take some time before. You don't have to, it's not a rapid fire, you don't have to answer straight away. Take 10 seconds, take 20 seconds, jot down your points, and just completely analyze the situation before answering. I think that should go a long way. Oh, sir, you're on mute.
Yeah. So I think valid pointers. I'm hoping that we've all taken a note, and let's work on it and do well from the work experience standpoint. Especially people having 2+ years, you have to be absolutely thorough. You have to prepare for really questions that are going to be critical about why have you done something, about what you have done in your work experience. So prepare it, to sort of scrutinize and understand the nitty-gritties as well. All right, perfect. So we are going to obviously test it out, in the sessions as well. um, yeah, Sarang, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Am I audible?
Yes.
Sir, actually, I wanted to ask that is it necessary that our work experience needs to be in the domain that in which we are going to
No,
pursue
no,
our
not,
MBA?
not at all. Not at all.
Like right now,
Absolutely.
I am a mechanical engineer, but my work experience is in the production and manufacturing background. But my interests and future goals are in marketing domain.
Okay.
So, is it totally fine if I connect and link them in a fluent way?
Sarang, it's not about fluency. It's about logic. Okay. So what you have to understand is why are you saying what you are saying? For example, let's say I'm, from a mechanical background or a production background. Okay, what is more suited for me is maybe a role in operations, and for that, I think for all such kind of questions, I would recommend do sit through the domain sessions we're doing. So we've done a marketing session, a finance session, there is an operation session which is coming up. Correct. Sit through these sessions. These sessions will give you a sense of what is there in each of these domains. करेक्ट, बिकॉज कई बार हमको ऐसा लगता है कि भाई मैं मार्केटिंग में इंटरेस्टेड हूँ, बट मुझे जब मैं मार्केटिंग पढ़ना शुरू करता हूँ तब मुझे रियलाइज होता है कि नहीं यार, ये भी उतना अच्छा तो नहीं है, दूर से अच्छा लग रहा था. बट सो दैट इज समथिंग विच वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड, सारंग. सो वाइल यू आर ट्राइंग टू कन्विंस देम कि तुम्हें मार्केटिंग में जाना है, पहले तुझे खुद लॉजिकली कन्विंस होना पड़ेगा. फर्स्ट यू नीड टू कन्विंस योर सेल्फ. You can't convince them until you are yourself convinced. So, Sarang, let me ask you back. Are you convinced that you should do marketing?
Yes, sir, totally.
Totally convinced. What have you done in marketing?
I have been a founder myself. Like I started a e-bicycle manufacturing company
Mm-hmm.
back when I was undergraduate student.
Mm-hmm.
So while doing that startup, like I found out that even if you create a good product which beats the existing competitors, but if you don't market it well, like if you don't show your customers that what value you create, it's of no use.
No, I
And at that
understand.
time, I
So,
felt that the
I
marketing,
understood.
yeah,
Point is, what have you done in marketing? You are telling me
uh,
what is the requirement of marketing, that I know. Marketing is very important.
yeah,
What
like
have you done in marketing?
I've done social media marketing for a brand, like starting from their inception. Like
Okay.
it's yeah,
Yeah.
and also in my firm, I was doing the marketing work, like creating like brand guidelines,
Mm-hmm.
also to analyze key if this product is fit for this region or not.
Hmm.
Also to analyze the total market that we can achieve and select specific groups basis on the demographic segmentation.
Understood, sir. Understood. So, to sort of make it brief, if you have worked in marketing, good enough, then you can obviously defend it. There is nothing wrong with it. Okay. The problem is when I do not have any understanding of that domain, but I'm seeing that I'm interested in it. Correct?
Actually, if I can tell the truth to the interviewer, like I was interested in marketing and sales from beginning, but due to some circumstances, I had to land in a production job. Like it was out of unwillingness that I joined this
It is
job.
not required. It is not required. It is not required to give a back story कि भाई पहले बचपन से ही मेरा मार्केटिंग में इंटरेस्ट था. जरूरत ही नहीं है. अभी you are doing it. You are getting into social media marketing. You are doing it for a firm. That's a good enough evidence to tell people कि मैं interested हूँ.
Okay.
Correct.
And
So
work.
yeah.
And even if I add things from my existing company, that how my marketing department for current organization works, if I can explain it to the interview panel, will it be sufficient enough to show my interest in marketing domain?
It is already sufficient. But
Okay,
so
sir, then it works.
yeah. So what you are working. So to effectively summarize, it's not the case that अगर मैंने कोई if I have been in a particular domain, I have to remain in the in that domain only. I'm, let's say, from production background, I can get into marketing also. I can get into finance also. What they are looking for is how convincing you can be, and there has to be a logic behind it. Well, that's something which is important. Okay.
Okay, so logic plus majority of interest that can work.
The interest can only be quantified through logic.
Okay.
Otherwise, interest is not, it's you just fancy it. You're not truly interested in it.
Mhm. So
Right.
basically, whatever marketing work I have done till now, that would help me defend this stand of
Correct.
being in marketing. Okay, sir. Thanks.
Yeah, Ishika, go ahead. We'll quickly take a couple more questions and then we'll wrap up. We'll take up a few more questions in the subsequent sessions as well. Ishika, please go ahead.
Thank you, sir, for conducting this session at this point of time. I actually wanted to ask question to Omkar, as basically he said that he's worked in pharmaceutical marketing sector, and I have a similar kind of a work experience. So, wanted to know that what kind of work related questions they can like I can expect, because I also work in a very niche background. It's a supplier company which basically transports material from the manufacturer to the top pharmaceutical companies of India. So whenever I basically interview with people, so the one kind of feedback is something I cannot make them understand my work well, even though whatever is written on my CV, I can make them understand that how am I doing the work. But most, because it's a small scale pharmaceutical firm, so my work is not just situated with what is written on my resume. I am also doing many out of the boxes things like hiring more females in my organization, as well as researching more number of projects. So how I can showcase this in my work experience as well, like whenever I am telling my answers, and like whenever like any sort of answer is basic questions being asked to me.
Yeah, so basically, I think I can relate to what you're saying because I think I was in a similar position a year back. Basically, what helped me was it. So I think the first thing to do is to know about the pharmaceutical industry and how it functions in India, because the pharmaceutical industry is completely different in India when you compare it with, let's say, United States or the European markets. So once you have a decent understanding of the space in general, I think then you will have more clarity about the kind of work that you do and where it fits in the entire pharmaceutical value chain. So I think I would suggest you to read more about the industry, get some clarity about how the industry functions and where exactly in the value chain you are. So that will help you portray your work in a much better way, and also talking about the kind of work you do, if you can probably try explaining them with a couple of projects, try to explain them in a very layman manner on what kind of projects you worked on, how it helped the organization, and what was the outcome. I think these things would be a good starting point for you. And pharmaceutical industry, again, just be a little mindful that there are a lot of regulatory and compliance related issues that can happen. So read up about those things because I was very frequently asked about these things also in my interview.
Sure. Also, I wanted to ask, like, for my short term and my long term goal, I have decided that I really want to join LDP programs of these global healthcare companies. So after
Hmm.
that, because I'm working in operations, but I have interest in marketing as well because I have done certain kind of marketing role as well in my company. So if they
Hmm.
ask like, where do you want to shift after completing your LDP program? So I usually say that I either want to join a marketing team or a operations team. But like they want like a goal clarity, where do I actually want to work in, but I really do not know as of now like where I will be like suiting in my role like more. So how should I answer this question as well?
Yeah, I think so. If you are confused about how to answer your short-term and long-term goal answer, I think it's completely fine. You can also say it in a way that during the 2 years of an MBA and with the help of an internship, you would get into a constant phase of experimentation, and you would get a lot of chance to interact with industry leaders. You would get a lot of chance to interact with to peers maybe who have been in the same industry. So that will help you explore more options. It will help you gain more clarity of the industry, the kind of roles that are there. So maybe that will help you take an informed choice. In your short-term goal, I think you can probably try to put forward the idea of learning. You can say that you're open to learning. Don't restrict yourself to, let's say, marketing or operations. You can just say that you're open to learning, and an MBA would help you realize that. Uh, and long term, again, once you have had a decent understanding of the space in general, in industry in general, maybe then on those lines you can build on your long term answer.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Ishika. Rupal, go ahead.
Hi, sir. So I had one query about this my job profile switching and all. तो सर सोच रहा हूँ मैं भी आंसर बट मिल नहीं रहा और ये क्वेश्चन तो आना ही है लाइक दिस विल
और
डेफिनेटली कम.
सोचो थोड़ा और सोचो.
Okay. Sir, my one question was to Varun. Like I was thinking that ये वाला question आएगा in SPJIMR. So I am planning to tell them that my interest developed towards operations, and hence I took up the last two jobs were related to my operations field. So can I say this as to why MBA and why now after UPSC? ये वाला थोड़ा सा मैं सोच रहा था.
Uh, I think why MBA एक ऐसा क्वेश्चन है जिसका आंसर किसी को नहीं पता है. Sir would agree with that. Uh, See, ultimately, why MBA का आंसर लेने के better roles, better clarity, better money यही होता है. But you have to frame it in a way कि हम वो directly ना बोले. So yes, you can talk about how operation is intriguing for you and how you wanted to transition in an operation-based role. So yes, you can mention that. But yes, उसको थोड़ा और refine करना पड़ेगा.
Okay. And also when you were asking me the last question about that money wala aspect, so that is like that even when sir was asked कि वो 50% reduce कर देंगे पैसे, तो I wanted to say कि money is never a issue, like issue for me. And even when I have switched roles, it's just not for the money, it's actually for the uh, role that I was getting. So in today also I wanted to mention my CTC, like पहले में कितना था फिर कितना है, तो is it advisable कि मैं mention कर दूं या नहीं?
No, I don't think you should mention that unless specifically asked. I think Sudhanshu sir will also agree to that.
Yeah.
And unless the interviewer specifically asks you, you should not mention that beforehand.
Okay, so like if I could like even if they are like सबको ये like even सबको यही लगेगा कि I am switching for the financial thing, but that is not the case. So how do I portray myself better in that situation?
So, Rupal, see, the point is two things. One is switching for money is a bad thing. ये हम नहीं कह रहे हैं. वो तुम समझ रहे हो. Switching in itself frequently is a bad thing. Okay. So we are nowhere getting into that zone of, money. That money question was actually, not connected. right? So that is the important element. So what we have to do, Rupal, is, rather than, finding, the answer, sit down, introspect, understand as to why did you do it. And honestly speaking, it is okay to have your reasons for a switch, just that you should be convincing enough. And if, that is the most important element. If you're not convincing enough, you can also mention that, maybe I was not aware. It is okay sometimes to be honest also, that I was not very aware. I believe that I should have, if I look back, I believe that I should have continued with one organization, because that really enriches the experience if somebody spends time in an organization. Maybe I was a little naive, and when I'm, getting into an MBA, and after that, I'm going to correct that mistake. I'm going to stick with an organization. I'm going to spend time with an organization and build upon it. करेक्ट. कई कई चीजें इंसान गलती करके भी सीखता है ना भाई. तो तुम उसको भी लर्निंग बना दो. करेक्ट.
Right. Right. Thank you, sir.
या राहुल, गो अहेड.
सर हेलो सर.
या
एक्चुअली सर मेरा क्वेश्चन बहुत ज़्यादा स्पेसिफिक है. If your company is in news for negative sense, like in my case, if there is some explosion in your industry at some other site, not at my site, some other site, and means it is a huge explosion and it is in industry, it is in news all over. So how to means if any question asked in the interview about this, then how can we handle? Means how can they grill me on this? What questions can I expect?
So Rahul, it's not right now. We are not expecting questions. Okay. Right now we are preparing ourselves. Okay.
Yes.
So right now what you should do is read more about it. If there is something happening in your organization which you are not responsible of, then you cannot be held responsible for it. Simple. Do not, find, problems, you know for solutions that you have. कि मेरे पास ये solution है, मैं problem बना रहा हूँ इसका. Solve problems. So basically start understanding your work experience better. Start understanding your industry better. Start working on the pointers that we talked about. करेक्ट. मतलब ये बहुत ही ज्यादा फैंसी लेवल पे चला गया कि मुझसे, मैं एक दिन मैंने सपना देखा था. सपने में मैंने विराट कोहली को देखा. अब इसके ऊपर क्या क्वेश्चन बनेगा? इसके ऊपर कोई क्वेश्चन नहीं बनेगा. अगर मान लो कुछ एक नेगेटिव सेंस में है, फॉर एग्जांपल, तो मैं उसके लिए रिस्पॉन्सिबल नहीं हूँ. अगर फॉर एग्जांपल लेट्स से ऑर्गेनाइजेशन रिस्पॉन्सिबल है और ऑर्गेनाइजेशन अग्री करता है कि रिस्पॉन्सिबल है, तो भी मेरे पास जितना इन्फॉर्मेशन होगा वो मैं बताऊंगा. मुझे कैसे ग्रिल कर देगा? फॉर एग्जांपल लेट्स से कोई और यूनिट के अंदर कुछ परेशानी आ गई है, तो आई विल से कि आई एम एम्पैथेटिक टुवर्ड्स द सिचुएशन ऑफ हुएवर इज एट द रिसीविंग एंड. करेक्ट. दैट्स इट. मतलब मुझे उसमें कुछ डिफेंड करने वाला पॉइंट है ही नहीं. मुझे क्या डिफेंड करना है उसमें? करेक्ट.
Oh, thank you, sir.
या. Alright. Okay. So, guys, what we will do is we'll take up a few more questions offline. So, do connect with us, and we'll take it primarily because some of us also have to go back to the HR panels that we are doing. So, we will continue this a little later. Okay. Thank you so much for joining in. I'm hoping that, this helps us in terms of getting one step closer to, getting our answers refined and our thought processes in line with the work experience bit. I must thank Omkar and Varun for insightful inputs and also some really amazing contributions in the session today. Thank you so much, guys, for joining in. It was very helpful. Take care. All the best, guys. Bye bye.